creative force in her own right and a powerful creative force. And people just kind of assume that you're not, or that you're kind of with someone, you were brought there, or, you know, you're buying comics for your boyfriend or something like that. So, I mean, I haven't had nearly as much of exposure to that kind of garbage as other people who I know. But I'm like already tired of it, so.
Well, the reason why that thought persists because if you look back at the last 5, 6 decades of artists doing stuff, most of it has been hits. Right? Those decades back then, the guys got the job. Now,
Yeah.
now at this time, I've witnessed a lot of ladies come into the field, which I'm very happy for. But it is, as you put it one time, previous conversation, it's an time to get recognized.
But it's like a vicious cycle because there's an assumption that if you're female, you know, if somebody knows that you're female and they look at your art, they immediately, you know, discount it
or
disassociate you
from
the work.
That's the issue right now.
So then they just look at you and assume, oh well, you can't be doing very good work.
Possibly do anything.
I mean, even
You couldn't possibly be this good.
yeah, we had a very famous editor came to my illustration master's class, and they were like, he's going on, and then he's like, yeah, I don't like to hire women illustrators because I think they're decorative. And then so all the class is half female, and we're like, wow, you just came right out and just said that. Like,
He left out of his life.
yeah. Well, we were all like,
Right.
well, everybody was like, you know, it happened so fast, you don't know what to say, and then
Yeah,
later you're like,
seriously.
that was so messed up. Like,
It's
and
one of
then-
those-
And then he's like, he had a slideshow with him, and he's like, and I love this guy, and this is, I'm hiring him for like a lot of work, 'cause he was an art director too. And it was like all like little curlicues, and it was like, oh wait, are we thinking, like, if that's not decorative, I don't know what is. And it's just, he has a lens where he's like, you know,
And that was probably
chick
very
work.
manly cue.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like one of those, oh wow, that was racist moments, except not, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna hire, and I don't really like to hire, you know, women illustrators, blah blah blah, and it's like, you're just probably like,
Yeah,
wow.
you're like, on one hand, you're like, at least you said it.
Yeah, thanks for letting me
I
know.
can't believe you said it. Like staring at our faces, and you still thought that was okay
Yeah.
in the 21st century.
The thing too is that when you respond passionately, I feel like in a lot of people's minds it invalidates you even more. It's like, oh boy, hysterical woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're angry. So
So you have to just sit there and take it.
or just kind of, you know, use the force and try to make it go away.
Well, I'm going to interject here really quickly because when I'm at my table and I'm selling books, and a lot of times I'm alone, or I have my table mate that I have in here at Comic-Con, Joey Tom. And when I'm standing there, someone's asking about the work, and they say, oh, well, who's the artist, and what is this, and oh, you're just the writer. I said, no, I'm the boss. I sign the checks.
Yes.
So I always respond.
Yes.
And it'll be male and female that will respond to me that way. And it's like, oh, well, all of a sudden the shoulders get a little bit straighter. Okay. I'll buy this book, please. Much, you know, it gets much nicer.
This and my question. I've witnessed in my journey collecting comics, movies, and doing photography, and I've seen strides. It's been small, but the strides are there. So others have to be cause influence, but encourage others to do the same thing. Encourage others to do the same thing, because that's the only way that ceiling was broken.
Well, it's a joint partnership. It's a joint partnership. But in partnerships, you both have to agree.
Yes.
So sometimes the problem would be in terms of the agreement. And now I'm going to take this out anyway. Because
Can I
in the
sorry.
sure.
I just wanted to say that, like, I'm not saying that what you said was without merit, but these people are professionals, and they're, like, at a con telling us their experiences, and I feel like it's highly ironic for a guy to be telling them how to tell us stuff. Like, I don't mean to sound like I'm attacking you, but I think that it's a very common thing, and like I used to run a heavy metal blog, which is also like kind of a male dominated arena. And I had, you know, guys telling me, you know, what interview questions to use, like that I should reach out to, you know, young girls who are into heavy metal and stuff like that. And I don't see that as necessary when there's a bunch of people up here, you know, telling us their story. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Yeah, but also I look at it this way. There's two sides to the industry. We have a mainstream industry and we have an indie industry that's literally exploding, and it's twice, triple, 100 times bigger than the mainstream industry. And I've said this at shows this last year, something snapped at me, and I just said it one day, is that you have all these people, all these female creators, these ladies doing comic books, but they are not crossing over into the mainstream. Mainstream is a 1% club. You have 52 books in one company, 48 in another. You have maybe 2 or 3 women actually drawing a comic book there. You have some writers, but you don't have women coming up saying, this is a job I'm going to do. Let me see what I need to do to put together a portfolio that would be appealing to an editor and crossing that line. So they will always look at you as if you were an anomaly. Like, I'm pretty certain people are waiting for me to catch that fatal heart attack so they don't have to deal with me anymore. No one's taking my place. I'm getting tired and old, quite frankly. And no one is here. Even when I see new portfolios, girls are now inching more to the indie side and staying on this indie side and not doing that 5 solid pages storytelling. You have the action scene, you have this, so you will always hear, this doesn't look like a girl drew it. What that means is, we don't see this enough. And if you really think some 50-year-old guy in an executive room is going to understand your great plight, they won't. They only understand your ability to perform on time and do it the Marvel and DC way. If you can't do it that way, they don't need you.
I think that might be part of it right
That's
there.
part of it.
Well, let's
Yeah.
be clear. There's a fear of going into the mainstream industry.
There's a fear.
There's a fear. So the idea is that indie, I'll be safe. I'll be okay. If I go towards DC, if I go towards Marvel, I'm not safe. So that's why we have these panels. So let women know out there, as well as men, that we're growing this community, and that, you know what, we're going to make it safe for you to go to Marvel and DC. You're going to feel comfortable. Even if there's an air of uncomfortability there, we have to find a way to knock it out. Because just like you said, there's a 50-year-old man sitting there that's been there forever. And he's, you know, and he may not even be thinking about gender. He may be looking at the work. The assumption is that to a certain degree he is looking at gender. So yeah, we can push young ladies to go over there, but they have to feel comfortable to go.
I don't know. I actually kind of, me personally, I don't know how this is for everybody else, but it seems to me that, like, if you want to work in mainstream comics, you kind of wanted to do that since you were a kid. You know, like the people, everybody that I've ever talked to who wanted to do mainstream comics, like, not, I didn't get to talk to you, but like a lot of them who were, you know, they were like, oh, well, I was reading comics, then I started drawing, you know, after this or that person, you know, I started copying, and then they start learning how to do art based on that, so they already kind of come in with a certain, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but at my age, like, that's what I saw. And that wasn't for me. Like, I would never make a decision now, like, hey, I want to go into mainstream comics. I don't like people telling me what to do. I never did fan art. I don't want to work on, like, licensed characters. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, characters that have been around forever, and, like, even, I appreciate reading them. I have no interest in, like, getting behind the scenes of that situation. Like, you know, I enjoy other people reinterpreting them, and they're the one, you know, sometimes they're just doing it for the paycheck, sometimes they had a passion for the character that they had since they were a kid, and they were like, I've always wanted to do She-Hulk, and now I'm doing She-Hulk.
That's fine, but I think Aletha's point is to have variety, so that people that want to do licensed characters, they can, and they can feel comfortable to do that and not shy with those.
They should just do it.
And if they want to do indie, but everybody's not just going to do it. And that's why, again, we have these panels.
Well,
we have these discussions.
Because you have a question, you know, there's a question later.
Well, I have another question for Darlena, so I'm going to jump into this. I mean, there's been a lot of press in regards to cosplayers being now a big part of the mainstream comic book industry and a part of shows and whatnot. And creators, particularly male ones, just put it out there, have a certain feeling about that. So I just want to know maybe your perspective in terms of sexism, comments and all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
It's interesting, because like I said, I started out doing a lot of Star Trek costumes. When I got into doing comic book costumes, it was a culture shock, because a lot of the things that are issues in this community, I was not used to. I was not used to the color issue, the body size issue. Because, you know, Star Trek costumes, you know, it's open. We're used to seeing variety and diversity. We're used to the full, you know, costume. Once you do the Green Girl, most of the costumes are, you know, covered. And so, you know, and I saw that with the comic book cosplay and everything, it was the whole thing with, you know, to me, a lot of it looked like soft porn. So when I talk to cosplayers, especially women, I say, you have to decide, and it's like with the comic rights, do I want to do mainstream or do I want to do indie? Do I want to do canon or do I want to do my own creation version of Scarlet Witch, Storm, whatever like that? Do I want to walk around with the boob window for Power Girl or do I want to do my own creation? And it's, you have to decide what's a comfort level to you. But unfortunately now, if you want to do boob babe, and you want to get attention, then you have to like fit this role, fit this kind of mindset, which I refuse to do because I'm doing this for fun. I don't need to do this for money. I started out for charity, for fun. I have my degrees, I have my career. This is fun for me. So I've had people say, well, you know, if you do this, you get more attention. But I don't want that kind of attention, that kind of way. Okay, it's just not for me. Yes, it seems like what started out as fun and only a few people doing it somehow is now a big thing, and everyone's about cosplaying. I mean, a convention owner can't even, we just talked about this the other day, can't even advertise to you about their con without throwing in your face 5,000 pro cosplayers. I want to know the pros cosplayers. I want to know who are the artists, who's selling stuff.
Yes.
Okay, I like to buy stuff, and it's like, and even who's con, it's like I don't care about the pro cosplay. I love them, God bless them. But that's not the first thing I want to see thrown in my face. And I know some writers, comic writers, and there's been talks about that online, have complained about that, even with them, when convention owners reach out to them. The first thing they throw in his face is the cosplays, the costume contest. And the girls with babes and big boobies is going to be here, so don't you want to have a table? And it's like,
It's like, go outside and see her.
yes,
I have
it's like,
seen, yeah.
that's not the thing that I'm sure you writers want to have thrown in your face, you know, to entice you to come to somebody's con. So it's just, I just feel like it's very mainstream, and it's come with a lot of additional pressures. It's actually scaring some people away from getting into it, who want to express that type of creativity, but they don't want to be now put in the spotlight where you're going to be judged and analyzed. Are you fitting the standard? Is your costume canon? Is your breast the right size? Is your body the right size? Are you the right color? People don't want to deal with that, and so I've talked to people who just totally either stop cosplaying or never want to get into it, even though they want to. They'll do like a Halloween parade or whatever, but they won't come to a comic book convention because they don't want to have to be put in the spotlight. I've had some things said to me. My first time doing Power Girl. I didn't know Power Girl was black. And my response was, well, with all the hell that black women have gone through in this country and survived, who better else to be a Power Girl than us? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything. I'm sorry. Can I take a picture? And so these are the things that you know that exist here in this community, and it's just, you know, I think it's getting better only because more people are talking about it. Like I said, it's good to have these discussions, and so that's a good thing. But I think we have to really work hard to keep it fun. And those of you who want to do it for money and everything, that's fine. But those who are doing it for money, don't compare us who are having fun with them. You know, that's their thing. This is our fun. This is our world of creativity. And we don't want any kind of like influx of judgments and problems. I'm sorry if I went on about that. I'm very passionate about that.
Just when I first started going to cons, and you know, I'd never seen cosplayers before. This was a while ago, 10 years ago. It was like, oh, I didn't know that people did that. And I was coming from a goth club background, so I was like, you know. But I just didn't know who anybody was, so
because
I had to figure it out.
Costume. It was always costume. When the thing in Japan, when cosplay came out, now if you mimic a particular character that is cosplay, if you create your own costume, your own character, it's costume. Cosplay falls on the costume. The costume doesn't fall on the cosplay. There's a lot of long-time costumers who would be mad if you call them cosplayers. Okay, because they don't mimic a character, they create their own inspiration. And they don't want you to call them a cosplayer. There's a difference. So we have that issue going on too. That's another discussion.
What I like is the passion. When people people are like, I love this character so much, I'm gonna dress up as them, you know, or they really inspire me in some way. And sometimes I think, you know, like kind of what you were saying, that when people get really professional about it, it can make it very cold and clinical.
I think it goes past the character. It just, let me do this outfit because it's popular and it's supposed to be money.
Right.
But like even when I decide to do an independent character, like I've done my friends independent character, I want to do Regines. I read the comics. I like the character. It's got to speak to me. There's got to be something there that speaks to my soul about that character, whether it's independent or canon. I'm just not going to cosplay everybody. I have to read and say, yeah, I like her background. You know, the reason of her characters are amazing to me. I'm actually losing weight because I want to make sure I look good and be agile because her character's not
going to be
Rigel. I'm not saying cosplay. I'm saying cosplay. But I want to be more agile and everything like that. So I've gotten back in the gym because I want to make sure that I bring her alive the right kind of way. You know, so
You might need to use a weapon.
For our next question, but we are going to get to you with something really good about sexism.
You're not off the hook.
You're not.
she off the hook, right?
2 questions ago, I don't even remember.
In terms of the profession, as well as what we read, why is it important to diversify comics? Elite one.
Why? What? You can answer that first.
No.
I have to have someone else answer it first so I can understand what direction you really need. Where
Okay.
you're going with that.
I'm just there. Because the world is diverse. It doesn't make any sense when you look at a comic and it's all, you know, sometimes I'm reading a comic and I'm like, there wasn't one woman in here. It doesn't make any sense. It's not a boys' school. Like I don't understand. Like it's not like a apocalyptic situation where a woman mysteriously got killed and I'm like really not even like a desk clerk. Like come on. And you know sometimes similarly sometimes you're like even in the background it's like they've just used one color to color everyone. And I'm like.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know,
that is pure laziness.
even if, yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, even if, I don't know how this worked out, even if this was like a, you know, a monoracial situation, let's say. I'm like, people of the same race still have different skin colors and faces. They just have different facial colors.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like even if you live, because people will say that, oh, well, you know, New York is, you know, a melting pot or whatever, but at the same, it's like a melting pot that still has a lot of places that are pretty segregated.
Right.
So I can forgive maybe a little bit at times if maybe in a certain area everything looks a bit more, you know, homogeneous. I can forgive that a little bit. But, you know, let's say you step out of this place into another place and it's like, you can't tell me that walking in this certain type of neighborhood that you don't see at least maybe, you know, 2 to 5 black people, you know, walking through the neighborhood, or some Asian people, or, you know, some Arab, Pakistani, you know, you can't tell me that every place you go to, there's nothing but, you know, freaking, you know, generic angsty, you know, white dude with the short haircut, you know, arrow looking, you know what I mean? Like everybody walking down the street is the same, you know, generic angsty white guy cutout, you know what I mean?
Also between the ages of like 20 and 32.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, I know, yeah, you know, like, yeah, especially, yeah, this, you're going to tell me that this really, really young, you know, 21-year-old is running this, you know, this small barbershop that's in the train station in Times Square for like 30 years. Like, really? There's no, at least if you're going to have it look a bit more, if you're going to make it look, you know, homogenous in that regards, at least give more, you know, variance and, you know, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, for every skinny white guy, give me like, you know, a pudgy, you know, pot-bellied white dude over 35, you know, cutting hair or something like that.
Some type of diversity.
It just
Some type of diversity, yeah. And it's like, that's when you,
like, and I think it only makes sense when people are only noticing one kind of person wherever they go.
yeah.
You know, and they're very dismissive of
Anything else?
anything outside a very narrow worldview, and then they reflect that in their work.
Yeah.
And we see that everywhere. Like comics is like
Yeah, comics are just one medium we see it in, yeah.
It's like television
television, movies. Yeah.
Where you're like a casting director had to work really hard to not cast different kinds of people.
Yeah,
Like,
you should.
you know?
I stopped going to a lot of movies because of that. If I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the attractions.
And I just
see
watch it and point it out.
no one that looks like me or you for that matter.
Yeah. We're just like, this is weird. It's not. That's not real. It's that's a fake world you just
That was a
created.
loaded question.
That helps you?
A little bit, because I'm gonna
You're mixing?
cut on two
Okay.
sides of
Yeah,
this now.
it's no, see, it's not considered a
For
sellable.
soundbite, and it's-
Oh.
Yeah,
It's like,
someone actually
well,
apologized
when
made
I'm
that statement.
drawing, and you've got
Yes, someone
6
actually
weeks to
said
draw
to
a certain
me
amount of
that
time,
it's
a certain
because of
amount time to draw,
the
I
percentage
think
of
our minds
black
work
people in the
that way.
population.
When
Oh,
you
then
learn
it's,
to
you
draw
know, they're just
female
depicting
bodies,
reality
try
as
to get back. So
is.
that's why we have that middle of the road person we always draw. We have no control over who's coloring it. So you can draw as many different people as you want in the background. By the time they get the book, sometimes they only have 2 or 4 days left on the schedule. And they know if they don't get it done, especially for DC, 3 strikes you're out, they never hire you again. So you're gonna slap on whatever and they'll be good with that. Then the inker. The inker will decide, you know what, can't handle this hair that you decided to swirl in here, and we are not touching that.
So no curls?
So no curls, and all of a sudden you see things.
No kinks?
All of a sudden, if I'm not inking it myself, if I'm not inking it myself, I can't expect someone else to follow that line. If it's too complicated, too complex, remember, we're still running on that same 6-week schedule that have now, by the time they start getting it, they're down to a month. No one has the time for your games and you're playing yourself. If I'm doing my own book, or if they give me enough time, I can be much more diverse in what I'm doing. Other than that, I start to middle of road it. It's at what you've learned to draw, that basic human template that you've learned to draw, which unfortunately matches just a certain, it's not one side to the other, just down the middle of the road, getting it done. And a lot of mainstream comics is getting it done.
That's probably why people keep not wanting to work.
Yeah, it's
So you're
hard
like,
because
Yeah.
it wrings you dry. After a while, you
You're in a
don't want to
factory.
make the
That's art.
mistake of putting something in that book that will make it, they don't make it so they take you off that next book. Because you can easily make that mistake by not following the script properly. If you're not telling the story they need to be told in that, you know, and they don't have time for you to play with that. Now in your own book, there's no excuse. You have time, you can do whatever you want. You can put whatever you want. If they let you world build, I'll world build a lot of stuff. But half the time, you don't even give you a decent reference, so you can't even tell where you are. And you're so frightened of making that mistake that will cause you never to get at least put you out of work for a few months, and how are you going to live, that you start to middle of the road that too. You don't want to go too far here, you just go over here. You have to stay here. So a lot of times you have to kind of forgive them a little bit, because the writer gets the bulk of the time. By the time you start working, they're like, they want a miracle.
Right.
And then it's handed off to an inker who now changes your work. And then the colorist gets the leftovers. And then the artist takes all the blame, because whatever happened, you've obviously drawn it this way. No, you haven't.
That's a very specific situation.
Yeah,
There are a lot of other
yeah.
situations where the person has full responsibility and they make
yes,
those
well,
choices.
that's why I said there's
Well,
no
no,
excuse
yeah.
when you've done that. But if you're talking like those books you go pick up every week, they work you till you burn out, and they don't care. You know, they wipe their ass when you're done, so they don't care.
There's a lot of books that are doing it right. So it's like, yeah, it can be done.
Yeah, it can be
Tomb
done
Raider.
with time.
Tomb
Again, you're
Raider
talking
right now.
with time and effort, with a longer schedule.
It's
when they're-
attention.
Yeah, and lots of, once you give you time, once you're not doing a page in 6 hours and trying to get it in by the end of the day, you can do anything you want. All of a sudden you've got, look at this, my God. This is why they hired me in the first place page, other than, I better play it safe, because somebody bigger than my editor will say, no. And then you're done, just like that, and it's not fair. So please, go easy on those ports, because sometimes I look at the book and say, this is a damn train wreck. You drew one good head and the rest of this was just
Yes,
fly.
much.
Yeah, there are books where you can tell, like, you know, there are artists who are like, you know, like, this could be better, but I know, you know, since you work for a major company, they want to know that you can deliver a book on time and everything. So you,
Mainstream comics, none.
yeah, so you can definitely tell the difference between, like, because I know I used to read this book, Spirit of the Tao, or the Tao by Billy Tan. I used to love Billy Tan a lot more when he worked for Image. Then he made the switch over to Marvel, and then he started drawing Uncanny X-Men. And I noticed that his style changed significantly. It looked a bit more fluid, but somewhat rushed. And so I could tell, like, it's different from working on a book with a writer. You guys, the both of you collaborating on an idea for this book, and you can put the time you need to into a book, and the art looks significantly different than from working on a major book. And it's like, it looks good, but at the same time, it's like, you're probably on a deadline. They're rushing you. They probably want you to adapt to like the company there's a company standard with, with style, depending on, your own style as an artist. So, the main thing is show them that you can deliver a book. And then I guess once you solidify that, you can sort of do whatever you want at that point. But then even then you're kind of like, no.
15 years now you have to do what I wanted to do. Okay.
Well, you're gonna get there. Yes, you are. One last question, then we'll take a couple audience questions, and I'll hand this to Micheline to take us out. If you could give an aspiring artist, writer, creator advice, what would it be? Well, you cannot. Not listen to Delia. Not ever.
I would say my best piece of advice would be not to allow the fear of failure or people not liking what you do to hold you back from really giving it your best shot, and either telling your story or writing, drawing your characters, or if you can draw but you're not really much of a writer, collaborating with somebody or something of that nature, because I think there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of stories to tell, and they're worried that they're not going to be good enough, or that the art's not going to be good enough, and you'd be surprised. A lot of times it's just a question of how your style appeals to your audience, and things like that. So that would be my advice, is that just don't worry about it, just start. Just start anywhere. Start in the beginning, start at the end of your story, but do something and create something. Otherwise, if you don't, then you could probably regret not ever having given it a shot.
So I want to thank our ladies. I want to thank you all for coming. Big shout out to Michelle, too many M's. Michelle for coming. She's a part of our Women in Comics Collective International that we have here in the city.
Nice.
And I want to take it out to you guys. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask, feel free.